To kick off the interview, I'm going to ask the first question, and then, of course, pass the mic over to Savannah to introduce yourself and get us all started. So, Miss Mojo, and of course, Savannah, too, please chime in. How are you celebrating Black Futures Month?
Say it again. How am I what?
How are you celebrating Black Futures Month?
Oh, so for me, I'm celebrating by just doing so much research. I think a lot of times we are spoon-fed Black history. And I think when we think about the future, right, we can't get to the future without knowing our past. So I've been doing a lot of research and learning about people who are not famous, who have unsung stories, but have shaped the culture in so many different ways, you know.
Thank you. And can you also just, I know we're going to get into that a little bit, but tell us who you are and the scariness of technology. And I'm just like scared. I'm sorry. This is going to drop again. Who you are, Savannah. Please tell the people something about you if you like to, just to kind of set the pace.
I'm 17 and I'm a senior in high school. And after high school, I plan on going to college and majoring in something having to do with medicine, because I see like helping people in my future and like changing the narrative. Like I want to be a part of the medical field because those are one of the fields where it's a whole lot of institutional oppression. So I want to, even though it's just me, I want to make a change.
And you will make the change. You will. We speak in
existence. Thank you.
Already are making change. You're here, right? You are leading. You are a leader already, right? So you are already a part of the change. You're part of the present, and you will be a part of the future. Thank you.
Right.
I'm going to
thank you.
Over to you again, Savannah, so you can talk it up with Miss Mojo. You can ask her another question. What's on your mind? Ask her the next question.
So who is Miss Mojo? What should the people and us know about you? And yeah.
Hi, y'all. Well, my name is Miss Mojo. I am an artist, rapper, creator, activist, and a full-time dope chick. Representing in Brooklyn, New York, up in a building. Woo-hoo.
That's right.
Yes. I am a speaker of many words. I do public speaking, especially for the youth, and I have been doing it for years, all over New York City, because I do believe that a lot of times people don't actually talk with the youth, they talk to the youth.
Yeah.
And when you talk with them, you understand what's actually happening. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times, our babies in our community, they just want to be heard. So if no one is lending that ear, sometimes they're going to make situations happen. So you're going to listen to what we're saying. And I don't want it to get to that place when it comes to me. So I'm always lending myself to youth conversations to just bridge that gap, you know. So that's what I do.
Yes. Thank you for really uplifting, bridging the gap and listening to young people. I think so oftentimes, like you said, people talk at young people. They try to dominate young people. And that, of course, gets the conversation nowhere. And in our work at GG, we're intergenerational, right? So we believe that in order for us to move closer to liberation, we have to hold the hands of all the people in the past and future, right? So we can all move to liberation together. So thank you for sharing that. So that inspired me to ask this next question a little bit. You say you're a full-time dope chick, right?
That's right.
For so long, y'all. It's giving years and years.
Okay, chapters.
Right.
Chapters.
Chapters of life. So what has inspired you to turn to rap music, to be a rapper? I've known you a really long time, right? So I know like you've always had it in you. You've always done poetry, right? So it's always been there. But how did you get your start in the music industry?
Well, you know, I was a ghostwriter for a long time for many different projects. And I think a lot of the work that I was doing was of service, and it never was for me. So when I really sat down, I'm like, girl, what do you want to do? I'm like, why aren't you rapping? That's what you love to do. In my quiet time, my quiet spaces, I make up raps. Like, I sit home and make up raps and repeat them. Maybe a little kiki, but, you know, I love to rap. I'm a wordsmith.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you devoted so much time with the pen and poetries and the activism and advocacy work to everyone else. What about you? And COVID really made me sit down and think about the ways that I need to start serving myself and putting my work on the forefront. You know, it's good to help uplift everyone else, but baby, I'm stuck at the bottom. What's going on? What's going on?
Okay.
You know, so that's how we got to Juicy EP, my project I dropped in 2021.
Which is,
and we're going up and up and up and up.
Thank you. I was watching something earlier, well, last night, I should say, so not earlier, and there was a quote that someone shared in the show, and they basically said the thing that you think about all the time is what you should be doing. So I feel like that really rings true with what you just shared about feeling like a rapper, being a rapper, writing for other people, but then thinking, and how do I use my own talents to move myself and my mission forward, right? So thank you. I'm curious, Savannah, what is something that what inspires you?
I don't really know. Maybe individuals who don't fit the narrative or the standard for. Actually, no, not individuals. Females themselves who don't fit the narrative or the standards, like the BBL bodies or the clear skin, just being themselves, no filters, no nothing, being happy to show who they are.
Hold on.
I'm a little filter about
Catch your bullets.
But I hear what I hear you say wrong is that you just want to be able to create space for people to be who they are without adjustments, right?
Yeah, not that people who have BBL bodies or use filters is a bad thing, because they're still embracing their beauty.
That is
but
true.
Yeah, people who show who they really are and not fear judgment, those people are who inspire me.
Yeah, so the people who are just doing what they want to do, living life by their own rules, right? And whatever those rules are is what I hear you saying. Yes. I love that for you. I love that for us. And I love that it's to create a world together with young people like you, where that is possible, right? Where it's more than possible, where it's actually happening. So thank you for being a voice right now in this space for young people. And I'm going to pass the mic right back over to you, because it's your world and I'm just living in it.
That's right.
Before I ask the next question, I wanted to say that I agree with Miss Mojo's statement in the beginning. I forgot which question it was for, but when she had mentioned listening to the youth, as a young person, I feel like sometimes adults don't hear me. They just want to let me talk, but they don't want to allow me to make the change. They don't want to help me make the change. So I really appreciate what you do. And
thank you.
No problem. Who are your Black feminist inspirations?
There's so many, but I want to say Toni Morrison more than anything else. It's just her works, right? I think her feminism exists in so many realms that it's if it's with the books, if it's with the movie adaptations, if it's with the public speeches and television interviews, it's just so many gems that she drops with her feminism. And I think her feminism does not revolve around elitism. And a lot of times those conversations don't humble themselves to meet at that level, right? So when I look at Toni Morrison's feminism, it comes from not only a humanity standpoint, but an equity standpoint, right? We can't begin to have conversations about feminism if you don't acknowledge the ways in which you navigate privilege or the ways that you use your privilege to oppress others. So Toni Morrison's work is definitely at the forefront of my feminism journey. And again, like I said earlier, going back and doing research, right? So, yeah.
I definitely agree with you on individuals who are able to express their activism in more than one version of art. Like, my favorite kind of art is, like, abstract art. Like, it's not an exact picture, and it's up to interpretation. Even though the artist has their own interpretation, you can interpret it how you want to interpret it, but there's still a message there.
100%.
I love that, and I love Toni Morrison. So thinking about Toni Morrison and the phenomenal writer that she is, today is Love Day, and I really thought about some of her work in Solomon and Beloved, and how she really explores the themes of what it means for Black girls to really love themselves. I would love to know, Miss Mojo, how do you feel you have changed your own destiny? And do you have any advice for cis and trans Black girls and gender expansive young people who are looking to do the same?
A woman who inspires me by the name of Beverly Smith. She has a saying, and she says, it gets greater later. Now, depending where you're at in your life, that may mean many different things. For me and my journey, I think to even show up in this body, this luscious body, I had to really sit in silence. I had to not only call for my ancestors, but wait for that reply, right? I think any advice I would give to young ladies, cis and trans and gender expansive, would be that there is no wrong way. There's no wrong way to achieve you, right? Every step, every conversation, every fight, every piece of shade, everything is meant to happen to cultivate who you will become. And for me, when I hear it gets greater later, what I hear is that you have to go through the storm to get to the sunshine. And even if you're in the sunshine, prepare for the storm. You know,
Okay.
Think bigger than what you've been taught. Think bigger than the people who raised you. Think bigger than the people, your peers. Think bigger. The moment when you say to yourself, oh, I like it here, start thinking bigger. Because you need to get to places that you love to be in. I'm at a place in my body and my mind and my soul, I love to be in this vessel. I love it. And that radiates, and that brings me so much positivity. That brings me to great organizations like this, that helps me meet beautiful people like y'all. You know, that's the advice I would give to the folk.
Thank you. That was so deep and beautiful. I feel so blessed to have you.
I'm blessed to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Someone just dropped into the comments, and that's also the part that stuck with me. Not only call for my ancestors, but wait for a reply. You know, because sometimes we like to think we have the answers, right? But it's like, well, maybe someone else can also come in and guide as well. So thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful. I'm like still processing it. Thank you. I'm passing it over to Savannah.
Well, for starters, I really love what you said, and I feel for your words.
Thank you.
Like, it's really sticking with me.
Thank you.
And no problem.
Right now. Right? Like, word for it.
So the next question is, in your work, you specifically center trans Black women, fat femmes, and as described in your single, for the femme queens, the rude gals, bad bees, and the girls with body. How important is representation to you?
How important is what?
Representation.
Representation is so important because in order to believe it, you got to see it. You have to see it. I am a older lady, of course, but it is just now that I am seeing a Lizzo in the world, right? At my old age. And her representation matters so much to me. And that's essentially my peer. We're around the same age. So imagine the little Miss Mojos coming up after me, right? The little y'all coming up after y'all. representation is so important because we live in a society that has constantly told us no, that has systemically excluded and erased us from narratives. This world is shaped on our backs as Black femmes. And I think as a Black trans woman, so much of my history is erased because we are constantly being victimized, harassed, murdered, and more. It is recently that we have a show like Pose, right? We have shows like Legendary that center the Black, and let me be clear, the Black trans experience. Because so many times they relate us to Caitlyn Jenner, where that is worlds and eons away from our experiences. So I think representation matters most because the work has been done, but the story hasn't been told. So we're trying to catch up. We're trying to make it touch, make it meet in the middle.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I can't. Come on, Mojo. Come on. Come on.
And she's gonna bring it to you every episode.
Just with my edges. I don't have like they not here. Oh, she's helping me. That was so good. But yes, I am such a big fan of your EP too, Juicy EP. Tuned in, please check it out. But I'm gonna give you space, of course, at the end to plug your work. So we're gonna, dive back into what we're talking about. But I hear you really like the thread of the conversation we're having. I feel like it speaks to manifesting into your higher self and like who do you want to be at a specific time in your life. So what are you manifesting for both yourself and for cis and trans Black girls in 2023? What are you manifesting for them?
I am manifesting investment within yourself and community. I am manifesting self-sufficiency. I am manifesting softness, care. I am manifesting love that is radical, that is brave, that is forgiving. A lot of us walking around with burdened hearts because we don't understand that forgiveness is for us and not them. I am manifesting personally music, the colors in music. I'm manifesting all these things because it's time for me to drop my second project, shameless plug, and I gotta get these juices flowing again. But for my community, I just want us to let go of the shackles that teaches women that if you don't meet this expectation, you are not considered a woman or your womanhood is denied. And that's for everybody. I'm manifesting community between cis and trans women in an honest way, void of jealousy, void of propaganda, void of hurt and pain. I'm manifesting a unity so secure that we can really get crazy with our feminism. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm manifesting right now.
Yes, that is beautiful. And I really love what you said at the end about community one between cis and trans Black men, Black women, because it is so important. And then the other part about getting crazy with our feminism, because I'm of the mind right now where everything that I do has to be delusional, has to be right. Like if the team isn't, well, can I do that? It's not big enough, right? Really. So one of my manifestations for young people, of course, is for them to be deluded with their dreams, right? I want them to dream so big that it scares them, because that is the driving force of us really getting to freedom, getting to liberation as possible. Like I think we're all here because people in the past, our ancestors, drummed up something that was delusional. So folks that we would be on TV live and in color, you're crazy. I see Lizzo, you mentioned Lizzo all the time. and people are like, she's selling out stadiums. She's like doing like what in that body? Like that's crazy. Or like I want young people, and I believe that young people are already doing it, right? And living out their most delusional, biggest, brightest dreams. Savannah, I would love to hear you share. What are you manifesting for 2020 like yourself? And what are your dreams?
Something I'm manifesting in 2023 for young people like myself is owning our history and owning our roots, because I learned in school last year, it's a whole lot of erasure. Our history isn't told, or it's told from the perspective of like the white man or somebody who is biased against us, especially the history of young women or women in general. And yeah, one of my dreams is, like I mentioned earlier, definitely to be in a place to help people, even if it isn't in the medical field, just to help people in general, whether it be homeless people, women who are struggling, even men who are struggling, anybody.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love that. And I love when you really centered things that make you feel like you're helping people. Because I really think that is what the journey of community is all about. We talk about self-care a lot, especially Valentine's Day, we're loving on ourselves. And I think that's super important because we don't do it enough Black women and Black femmes. But I think, self-care without community care is really just a struggle, right? But capitalism believe that we need to only care for ourselves without understanding that self thrive if you're around people who also care for you too. So thank you for consistently uplifting that. It's really for you to help and support your community, because that really is what drives what we do. I have a question for you, Miss Mojo. What was your journey to feminism like? When did you come into identifying as a Black feminist? Do you identify as a Black feminist? What has that journey been?
So I don't currently identify as a Black feminist because I think the feminism movement is so varied in many different spaces. A lot of feminist movements exclude trans bodies of trans women. So that's not particularly the label I identify with. I say I'm a womanist. I'm pro-woman.
Right.
Even sometimes when it's at the detriment of men. That's just my ministry. I'm pro-woman. Because the reality is we live in a system that's patriarchy, that's misogynistic, specifically misogynoir, has held us down and held us back. So my pro-womanist standpoint means equity, right? The elevation of women to not be next to you, but higher than you, because you've held that position for a long time. And what we do know, and every successful person will tell you, that they were able to achieve success because of women, specifically Black women. So when we have more Black women in leadership positions, everyone wins. You understand what I'm saying to you? When we have more women who are disabled in policy-making positions, everyone wins. When we center the most oppressed, the bottom of the totem pole, the whole top wins. And that's the work that's centered around my ideology and how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Everything you shared. I mean, I would really uplift that is a lot of the work that we do alongside young people too at GGE, where we're less and until Black girls, cis and trans and gender expressive young people and us are free, then ain't nobody free, right? And people need to know that, right? And they need to be able to hold themselves and their communities accountable to that. And I also love what you shared about so many communities and people thrive off of the success, the work of Black women and femmes. I was thinking something as simple as like Ryan Coogler, he was talking about he wouldn't be a director of, the multi-million franchise of Black Panther had not been for his wife. Bought his camera and said, "Yeah, you can produce like."
And that little $500 she slid him back in the day, okay?
Right, and I know so many stories like that from people I know, both like my mother, my grandparents, things like that, and it's generational, right? And I love when you basically are saying that at some point it has to move from being, oh yeah, like she did that for me, to no, we're bringing her voice center because it's important, who is there to support her and who's there to help her. So thank you for uplifting that. Savannah, I would also love to hear you kind of talk about your journey um, to feminism, or any of the, whether it's feminism, womanism, been like. And I know you're in program and we're talking about that probably all the time. So I would love to hear you talk about that a little bit too.
I can't say as a young child I learned about feminism and all the hardships that a woman's went through, just because I wasn't necessarily taught that in school. I was taught things like women couldn't vote back then, stuff like that, but I wasn't taught to the extent of how they were treated due to society being so patriarchal. And yeah, basically now in GG, I'm learning about intersectionality and how especially colored Black women or trans women are discriminated against as not only an individual of color, but an individual of color who's a woman. And yeah, that's about it.
I love, Savannah, that you're bringing up what you're learning in school, right? Because so much of what we learn in school is wrong. I think we're all on the chat. We're products of New York City public school system, probably, most likely, yes, right?
Yeah. K through 12.
Right?
K through 12, kindergarten to 12th grade.
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know, or maybe, yeah, I don't know if they know, but New York City has one of the largest segregated school systems in America. Like, you wouldn't know it because we have such a heavy Black population, but the school system is so segregated. For folks who are watching, you can be in a community with a school with no library, maybe 3 teachers, 0 textbooks, and then you can travel 20 minutes like north, and like the whole landscape of schools and school systems are completely changed. And I remember, to your point, Savannah, in high school, my history teacher, we learned about women getting the right to vote, right? In 1920, that was what we were taught. So in my mind, yeah, we all got the right to vote in 1920, until I got to college, right? And started doing my own digging and learning about gender, racial, all the politics, all the isms. And I was like, wait a minute now, somebody, they put a little something in this water.
The math ain't mathing. It's not adding up.
Math was not math, because it's so much we don't learn about that in school. So I'm grateful that Savannah, yourself, and other young people have spaces like GGE and other groups across New York City and across the country, across the world, that are really like having and holding this hand of giving young people the history that we're supposed to be taught, right? And like you said, Miss Mojo, earlier, that you're doing your own research as an adult. I'm consistently doing my own research to learn about who I am, where I'm from, you know, what I should know as an adult. So I'm happy that young people have spaces where they can start to really gain that knowledge at a certain point without schools trying to tell us what we should know and what we shouldn't know. So thank you for highlighting that. I want to ask you, Miss Mojo, what is in your Black feminist womanist bag? Like, what do you need to walk around, both literally and figuratively, for you to feel like the bad Black girl that you are?
Money.
Period. Okay.
I need all my chips and my dip. Okay. No, but what's in my bag, seriously, it's just the work. And however that shows up, functions in that bag, I make sure I get that bag and keep that bag, right? And the work for me is speaking, listening, engaging, creating, loving, learning, and just cultivating my essence. I am a daughter of daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I am a speaker of truth. The truth is not always comfortable, but there are no band-aids in my bag. The wounds I inflict with the truth are wounds that will heal into glory. I walk around with my purpose. And I've been saying this, you can watch all my interviews throughout the years. One thing about purpose is that you can't pick it, it picks you.
Come on.
So you may think you're moving left, you may think you're moving right, but the purpose is actually saying, no, baby, you're moving forward. That's what purpose will always do to you. It will always find you and bring you back home, no matter what you do. So if it was me doing a open mic event for 8 years, if it was me feeding the homeless every holiday season, if it was me dancing in kindergarten, being the only child to dance when no one else wanted to dance, it was aligned with my purpose. So when I come to you, right, with my bag, I'm in my Chelsea. When I come to you with my bag, just know that it's not heavy. It's light. Ooh. Because everything in that bag, it's an infinite journey, right? Nothing stays too long. My bag is lightweight. My bag does not bring baggage. And my bag smells good. What's going on? So that's what's in my bag, okay? It looked good and it smelled good too.
Oh my God. I always love talking to you, Mojo, because make us laugh. Like it's always a joy. Thank you for sharing what's in your bag. Like, I also want to uplift what you said at the top of this message too. Heavy on the coins, the buckets, the cream, the cheddar, the moolah, all of what we need. I am very adamant that we cannot shift the systemic lives and policies of Black girls and Black femmes if we're also not shifting the material conditions. And when I say material, Black femmes and Black girls, they need the money. So philanthropy, if you are on the live right now,
open your money, purse.
Open the bag, open the purse to fill their bags and our bags. Okay. So thank you for naming that. Savannah, you know, so girl, what is in your Black feminist womanist bag, literally or figuratively, that you need to show up as yourself?
I definitely agree with Miss Mojo on the money part.
That's right.
Money keeps me going. And definitely dedication and confidence, because without dedication and confidence, I wouldn't feel like I could do half the things that I set out to do or dream to do. And definitely gotta smell good too. Carry a little perfume.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. Those are really beautiful. I would also like to add, I remember when I was younger too. I mean, even now, something that was always in my bag was some lip gloss.
Okay.
And I still do with sea lips because the revolution gotta be moisturized, right? So I'm gonna need the feel good, to smell good, all that. So thank y'all for sharing. I'm going to now pass the mic to you, Miss Mojo. Really quickly, we're gonna do like some Q&A. I'm monitoring our
Q&A.
Let's get into it. So we have 2 questions. The first person is asking, speaking about community and unity, how do you all build this in your own lives?
Say it one more time for me, please.
So they're uplifting when you were talking about community and unity, possibly between cis and trans community, but also I think just in general. How do you build this into your own life?
I build it into my life by, like, again, I said, bridging the gap. So many times I am the bridge, and I'm okay with doing that work. A lot of people don't have the capacity to do so. But I'm comfortable wherever I be at. So I got to make sure everybody around me is comfortable as well. And sometimes those hard conversations come from a place of fear. Knowledge, we should never be fearful of knowledge. We should never be fearful of education. We should never be fearful of enlightenment, right? So conversations that may feel hard can actually, when conducted with the bridge person, me, can be productive and can be ways to help us become closer as communities. Because the reality is, I come from cis people, right? And the other reality is cis people come from me. So we are connected in that realm. We just need to find our way back, like Beyonce was saying. Mm-hmm.
I believe somebody earlier in the chat had asked a question, and they said, what does real support look like?
What does what?
What does real support look like? Like genuine support.
I think support looks different for everyone, right? My needs will never be Tony's needs or Savannah's needs. Support to me looks like what you are willing to give out. Are you willing to give out unconditional love? Then you should be able to receive it. Are you willing to be selfless because you will be able to receive selfless acts towards you? A lot of times we've been taught that support looks like, oh, well, if they're not doing for me, I'm not doing for them. That's the dark side of the coin, right? Because that way, when we have that mindset, nobody gets support. The light side of and we're not talking about light and dark skin, we're talking about light, the energy, and darkness, the shadows. The light side of that coin is, I know that my effort of support and service will always come back to me because I'm willing to receive it. So support doesn't always look like being a groupie or being a fan or constantly spent. That's not always what it looks like. Sometimes support looks like a morning text saying, hey, have a beautiful day. Because you never know what someone needs to hear. I've never heard anyone get offended by a text saying, have a beautiful day. Support may not always look like someone supporting your invention, your creation, your hustle. It may look like, hey, I see you and I acknowledge you.
Thank you, operator,
and I speak your name in rooms that you may not even be a part of.
Q4 2022.
You know what I'm saying? So support, again, looks like what you are willing to give out.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I think what I also hear you saying is that just being for someone what you also need too, right? Like us recognizing that support really goes both ways. And we have to, again, go back to community care, really hold all of ourselves up, like hold, both the person that's on your left and your right and front, behind, and hope that they're also going to hold you up too. We have several more questions. Want to make sure we're getting to all of them. What has brought y'all Black joy recently? And that's a question from B Hawk.
Hey, B Hawk. Y'all know B Hawk. B Hawk is a beautiful, I'll say, gender expansive person. Who's my ace boom coon down at BTFA Collective. So hey, B Hawk. I forgot the question already.
What's bringing y'all some Black joy? I think they want to hear from everyone. What's bringing us?
Okay. I'll go last. Y'all go first.
Okay. Well, Savannah, you go first.
What's bringing Black joy is definitely doing research on people this month, similar to what Miss Mojo said, because in school they're dedicating like assignments to people who have made history, like people of color who have made history. Like I learned about the first person, similar to Serena Williams, but like she was the first colored person to break those kind of records, especially like after receiving all the backlash and the fact that she couldn't even afford tennis lessons, and her community came together and raised money for her to go and have tennis lessons. So that's when I kind of forgot.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm a researching now myself. Right. Thank you. I have homework to do.
And yeah, just learning about my roots and my history and other people of color who have made history. That's how I'm celebrating Black joy. And just celebrating the fact that I'm an individual of color.
Right.
Beautiful. I am making space for Black joy and celebrating Black joy, or like something that has brought me Black joy. Of course, right now is Carnival. It's Carnival season in Trinidad. I'm in Trinidad right now. Looks like
hey.
um, bringing me some Black joy. Just being able to celebrate this good time with other Caribbean folks. And when you mentioned ancestors earlier, Mojo, I think of Carnival as a specific way for us to keep the ideas of liberation and freedom alive in the ways that Caribbean ancestors fought for freedom. So I'm so into this Carnival experience. And I'm gonna pass it over to you. What's bringing you some Black joy?
I'm getting Black joy from Black trans women. My sisters down at BTFA Collective have truly been my rock. When I tell you it's like an episode of Girlfriends, season 1 through 4, because they got a little shaky after that. No shade. My sisters are bringing me joy. Love is bringing me joy. You know, I got a couple people sniffing up my skirt, and they're doing the right thing this time around. So we give thanks for that. And just being able to speak to y'all in this moment is bringing me so much joy. Anyone who knows me knows I love to run my mouth. I love to pop my gums. But when it's for fruitful conversations like this just, it gets me going, and it keeps me energized and inspired. So this is bringing me joy.
Yes. And just to also plug, you said BTFA quite a few times. So I
Yes.
don't know if the folks in the audience know what the collective is, but it's the Black Trans Femme Artist Collective. Did I get
Black
the acronym right?
Trans in the arts, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share the work? I mean, it's about time for you to plug your work.
Good.
Wait, we actually got,
Good.
it's actually, hold a little bit. We got one more
Okay.
question. Someone says, I love the way you talk about your purpose. Can you speak to how you found yours and how you kept pursuing it and centering it despite any challenges you faced?
That is an amazing question. I found my purpose. Wow. How did I find my purpose? I didn't find my purpose. It found me. It found me. And it took me having, sometimes in life we get so busy. We get pulled so many different ways, right? Like I said earlier, that stillness, that silence, me taking out the paper and the pad and saying, I do this, I do that, I've done this, I've done that, this work, this don't work. What is the main connector here? And I circled it, and that was my purpose. My purpose is to be light, right? So everything I do brings light. It brings joy. It brings laughter. It brings. So I am a bringer, meaning that my light, think about it like this, the sun got to rise every morning. And what does it do? It brings so many things. It brings life. And sometimes we only consider birthing as the creation of life, but that's not true. If you know what you know, what's today's mathematics? If you know what you know, light bringers keep the life force going. Mm-hmm. So I cultivate things for people to not just exist, but to live. Everything I do does that. And that's my purpose. So sitting with yourself, putting it all on paper, because you have to see it on paper. Spelling is a spell. Erykah Badu says that. Spelling is a spell. When you look at that and you calculate it in your mind, you will get to your purpose, and you circle it. And once you see it face to face, it's going to smack you for the rest of your life. And you're going to say, girl, I didn't know we had beef. Like, what's up? I didn't know we was beefing. But that's what purpose is. It's constant. It's never going to let up off your neck, right? And you just got to do things that serve your purpose, because that will always sustain you in the long term versus short term. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know.
I think it answers the question.
Okay.
And I have a last questions before we pivot to our endeavors. My last question is, so one of the legs of the work that we hold at GGE, and one of the works that I do, of course, as Director of Culture and Narrative Shift, is to really think about what are the dominant narratives about citizenship girls and gender of young people, and what do we need to do to shift them, to move the conversation forward, and how do we get to a space where that specific population is writing the narratives about themselves, right? So I would love to hear both of you share, what is one dominant narrative that you would like to see shift that is told about your community, or people in your people that identify with you?
You want to go, Savannah?
One narrative that I hear about people I identify with is that we're ghetto. But I feel like that's not necessarily something that could be shifted, because people are going to think what they want to think. I feel like we should just be who we are, stay as we are, like not change for anybody. Because regardless of what you do, some people are going to support you, some people are going to hate you. It doesn't matter if you please some people or please other people, just please yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Come
And,
on.
you know, I heard two things in your question, Tony, but I'll speak to two parts. So the first part is, I think a lot of times when it comes to the youth, a lot of the youth I find are being told who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And they adapt to that ideology of who they are. So when negative things are placed on people who never asked for them, we practice consent here, right? And I want the youth to really think about the ways in which who you are doesn't represent who you actually are or who they told you to be. So when they say these kids are ghetto, what does that mean to you? Because I'm ghetto fabulous. Okay. Is that reclaiming, right? Of what does it mean to who I am? And as far as my peers, you know, a lot of times as Black trans women, we get the burden of being society's outcasts because of intentional programming like the Jerry Springers and the Mauries, and any media that has showcased trans people, specifically Black trans women, since the beginning has been negative. It is in the last 10 years that we are starting to see a shift, and that's because we're leading those stories, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when it comes to Black trans women, so many of us are denied womanhood, number one, are told when we should be able to practice womanhood, number two, and number three, are just misunderstood because of propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see things in the news like the trans community wants to ban Aretha Franklin's Natural Woman because it's a transphobic song, you see that in 5 minutes, you will see that, no, it was a joke. But your bias for trans people was already strong. So you, as a person, were able to believe that, because that's how you already felt about trans people. You know what I'm saying? I just want I want specifically Black trans women, young girls, gender expansive youth who fall under the trans umbrella to know that there's so much sisterhood to be had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always going to be positive, but it's always going to be worth it. Because sisterhood truly has transformed my life. And sisterhood is what I pray every young lady, woman, gender expansive gets a chance to experience. Because one thing I hate when I hear the youth say, oh, I don't really hang around females like that. That boils my blood. Because to me, what I hear, right, again, it goes back to the listening. What I hear is that sisterhood has not happened for me. Because anyone who has experienced true sisterhood will tell you it is because of them that I am this. You know, so I know I ramble, but I'll end it there.
No, that was beautiful. And I love that we're ending on the thought that sisterhood, especially for Black women and femmes, has always been vital and necessary. I know for me, it's been the constant in my life that keeps me going. Like, I don't think I could ever do what I do and dream the dreams that I dream without people alongside me. Everything that I've done, I've always had a group or a stand of Black women and femmes cheering me on. I have never not had that. Even since I was like 5 years old, I've always had a really big, so I just feel like it's so important what you're saying about sisterhood and how just pivotal that is for our community specifically. I want to shift gears now, finally. I know I teased a little bit throughout the show, but please, please, please tell the people where they can find you, what's going on, what do you have brewing?
More shameless plugs, yeah. So y'all can find everything I do on mojodisco.com. Mojo Disco is my company. I've been holding Mojo Disco down for years. So mojodisco.com. But BTFA, Black Trans Femmes in the Arts, a collective I am a part of, founded by our girl, Jordan J. We are a collective that helps create and cultivate art from and by Black trans femmes. We have an artist collective that expands 3 different continents, many states, and we're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. We serve to create the art from our own narrative, because usually art is not from us, right? It uses us, our likeness, but it's not from us. So we're able to do that. My music, Miss Mojo, a real rap, be a word. My EP, Juicy, is now streaming on all platforms. Just type Miss Mojo, Juicy everywhere, and you'll see what's going down. Thank y'all so much for the support. People who listen to my music. Y'all, I get videos of people, of DJs playing my songs in the clubs. I'm just like, yes, yes, this is my purpose. This is the work I should have been doing a long time ago, but everything happens for a reason, you know? So that's pretty much it. And hug on a fat Black woman today, because it's Love Day. Okay? Hug, love, support,
Happy Love Day.
Give us all the things. Give us all the things.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us for our first live chat for our series, In My Black Feminist Bag. It is because of you that we're able to really uplift this messaging. And thank you for making time again for young people who are appreciative. I will also give Savannah some space to just share. But I think, like you said, it's important for us as we get to places in life to always reach back and hold young people's hands and uplift them. So thank you for carving out some space in your day to love upon some girls and young people, because we all deserve it. Savannah, any last words?
Thank you for being that adult who listens to the youth and who tries to understand us rather than walking all over us. Thank you for taking the time out of your Valentine's Day with your very pretty makeup to talk to us. And yeah, I just appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate everything you stand for.
And let me speak life into you, Savannah. I thank you for being here with us. I thank you for being vulnerable enough to share your story and your truth. I thank you for existing in every way that you do. And I thank you for being a perfect representation of this beautiful organization, because that is the work that needs to be done. Don't let anyone tell you Savannah ain't who Savannah is, because Savannah is going to be what Savannah needs to be, point blank, period. And I look forward to seeing your growth into the medical field or any field you choose, because it's yours. We claim that and we name that over your life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey. And for folks who are in the chat right now, please stay tuned for our second edition of In My Black Feminist Bag on February 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be interviewing Ariana Davis, one of Lizzo's background dancers, and from Big Girls. So we cannot wait to have you for that conversation as well. Again, thank y'all, and happy Love Day. I hope you feel all the love today, because you deserve it. And Black girls are fun, so I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you again. Until next time.